Good evening, everyone. Today is April 29th, and I am so happy that you're here. We're going to be talking about essential oils for relationship building, whether those are the relationships in your business or in your personal life, whether they're friendships or romantic relationships. The skills really, folks, are all the same, but there are some essential oils that can help you with that process. So today we're going to have sort of a speedy call because I just mentioned I'm on my way to the airport to pick up my daughter. She's on her way home from Texas, and she's flying as we speak. So I want to make sure that I'm there when she gets off the plane. So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to share my screen with you right now. Okay, for those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm Elena Jordan. I hope I get a chance to meet you in person if I haven't had a chance to, but we are going to be, I'm sure, fast friends if I haven't met you yet. Part of what we're talking about today is relationship building. We're going to talk about the skills for relationship building, and we're also going to talk about some essential oils that can help you in that process. So I'm going to get, let's get started right away. Okay, first of all, I want to say always, always, always thank you to our Presidential Diamond team. These are the ladies and men that work so hard to support all of us. They are the backbone of this team, and they work tirelessly day and night, really, to make sure that you have the products that you want, that you're supported, that you feel part of a community. And when I see some of the amazing things that you're doing online, congratulations, all the Singaporeans who just had their big events in the Philippines. Lots and lots of things going on. I can't wait to share some of the events that with you. If you would like to contact me privately, I'd love to hear what were your impressions, what happened. Some of you have already started to contact me, and I've seen on social media some of the postings. But I'm so very proud to be a part of this team and really inspired by each and every one of you. The ideas in this presentation are based on the book, Essential Oils Healthcare for Today. It is a beginner's guide. It's fondly known as the LRP book because it does help you to put together a 90-day plan to combat any issues that you may be having. And we're going to go back to the format that we had before, which is we're going to give you a 90-day plan at the end of every class. And then we're also going to have a monthly everyday plan. So you can have some variety. We're going to start working in themes again. I'm going to get organized, folks. I know you think sometimes that I'm not organized. And probably when I come up with some of these topics, you're thinking, what is she talking about today? But we really are getting more and more organized. And I think you're going to see that in the months and weeks ahead. Okay, essential oils for relationship building. Super important topic. We are in a relationship business. One of the things that I love about doTERRA is it helps me to build friendships all over the world. There are many of you, and you know who you are. I would not know you if it wasn't for doTERRA. I would be sitting probably in my house in New Jersey with some friends, some local friends, and really not knowing all of you. And that would be really a point of sadness, I think, for me. Community is what keeps us alive. And community is known to be the number one factor in longevity. If you're able to stay active and in a community, and that can be in your church, it can be your dance group, it can be a community center, whatever it is, if you feel a part of a community, you are more likely to live longer. So we're talking about these oils for your health, your happiness, and for your business. And for those of you who are looking to find a love relationship, these tips are going to help you too. Okay, so number one, you want to be, and I'm going to go through 7 quick tips on how you can start and build relationships. Why is this important for our doTERRA business? Because this is, as I said, a relationship building business. If you're not a person who in general can seek out the confidence of strangers, some of these tips may seem a little bit strange to you, but I want you to really feel like if you want to take notes, and of course, as I always say, you can take photographs of the slides, but this is a way for you to really think creatively about how can I meet new people. So usually new relationships start with seeing someone or being introduced and simply talking to them. And you may want to start with small talk about the location, the occasion, the weather, of course, and gradually move on to conversations of more substance. I would refrain at this point from jumping in and saying, hey, I sell doTERRA essential oils. Want to find out more? Because I think that's a little bit off-putting, especially when you first meet someone. You want to make sure that you're establishing a rapport with them, and whether that's a rapport that is based on the occasion, maybe you're at a wedding or some sort of an event, a concert, or has something more to do with circumstances. You are involved in, I don't know, a project, and someone comes onto the project, or maybe through your work. You want to make sure that you've established a connection before you launch into your spiel. So the better you are at initiating or being open to receiving new relationships, the more chances you have for increased social support. And I think some of us, when we get to a certain age, begin to think, I have enough friends. I don't need to meet any new people. I'm just doing fine on my own. And social media kind of encourages us to stay in that, I don't know, isolationist mode. It's very easy to think that we're connecting with people when really we're not. We're just seeing them through a social media lens. These are my two recommendations for being open. Excuse me. One is Arise from the Yoga Collection. And as you know, the Yoga Collection was just broken up. It is available in the broken up form from in NFR, for those of you who are outside of the United States. If you are outside of the United States, I'm going to be talking about all three of the essential oils that come in the collection. And I know many of you do have the collection available to you in your local market. So stay tuned and really listen what we're going to talk about. I think these two, Arise and Elevation, and you don't have to use them at the same time. The Elevation, of course, is an oldie but a goodie. Arise is kind of a newcomer on the scene. But what I love about them is they have that feeling of, I'm going to elevate myself. I'm going to bring myself up. And sometimes that's all we need when we're in a new situation. How many times have you been invited to a party and before you go, you think, oh, I'm so tired. I don't want to go. I don't want to meet people. I'm just not in the mood to do this, because being in social situations sometimes can be hard. People ask you funny questions or you don't feel like talking. What I'm going to encourage you to do, though, is to get out into those social situations and maybe join a club or join something that you haven't done before. I know for myself, I've started going to a business mentoring group here in New Jersey. And at first I thought, oh, this is going to be terrible, but it's actually worked out to be a wonderful thing. And before I go, sometimes I'm tired because it's held in the evening and I don't tend to be a night person, but I really get energized by all the people that are there, the ideas that are talked about. And I've made some really nice contacts and friends and people that have been super supportive and really outside of the doTERRA world, which is kind of cool. Okay, how do we grow the relationship? So someone can go from a stranger to a friend if you discover you have some things in common. You want to find something about him or her attractive or interesting, or enjoy your time together. And here's a tip that I'm going to give you. If you Google questions for falling in love, there's been some studies done by psychologists that show that they're actually a group of questions that if you can answer them with another person, can help in the process of falling in love and bonding with that other person. Now, if you're married, you want to probably do this with your spouse, but maybe you want to do it with a good friend if it's something that you really have a very fond friendship. But Google those questions. I think they can help you. Maybe I'll post the link in the chat today. Let me write down questions for love. There we go. Because I want all of you to take a look at that. And after today's class, I think you'll be really interested in some more information. And you know, you get to know someone by feeling known, right? So you want to be able to listen to that person and identify with them. Don't be ready to jump in with whatever it is that you have to say. Listen, everyone wants to feel heard and known. And you want to be patient. Growing an authentic relationship can take time. The same thing is true of our business relationships. Usually you don't meet someone and sell to them immediately. It doesn't usually work like that. And sometimes it takes multiple contacts. I was talking to a woman, actually I was listening to a woman who does some social media work, and talking to her about client acquisition and how does she find clients and who are her next customers and how long does it take. And she said that she had actually, somebody had started following her online. She wasn't sure exactly how. And it took a process of almost 18 months for that person to become a full-fledged paying client. And so that process, obviously from stranger to yes, I'm going to purchase from you, can take a while. You know, from hello to yes should be the trajectory that we're looking for in our businesses, but we don't want to push it because we don't want to push the person away from us. We want to make sure that we're building a genuine relationship and addressing that person's needs. Two of the oils that I love for this process are Anchor and Balance. Anchor is the setting blend, and the second one in our yoga collection. Balance, everybody knows balance. Everybody loves balance. I probably don't even have to tell you anything about it. But that idea is when we go out there, we're talking to people that we're feeling balanced. We're not kind of flying away in the clouds. We're not super nervous. We are not stressed out or bored. We want to really feel like we're focusing on the other person and that our interactions, our conversations are balanced and steady. Okay. You want to eliminate any pests or unsafe relationship. And by pests, I don't mean bugs, folks. I mean people that just really get under your skin. If you have a person in your life who really gets into your skin, you want to make sure that you're treating that person with care and kindness, but not allowing them to really bug you. You may have to just set that person free. You want to determine the right balance between safety and support, and the closer the relationship, the more potential support. So for those of you who are on troublesome partnerships, my heart goes out to you because I know this can be very, very difficult. Please seek counseling, but also use your oils, diffuse in your house. Make sure that whenever you and that other person are together, that you're able to kind of eliminate as many toxic interactions as you possibly can. The danger with close relationships is that you may lack boundaries and they put you at a risk for being hurt or mistreated. And just because you've been in a relationship with someone for a long time doesn't mean that it's a safe one. You want to recognize red flags and be responsive to your own feelings. This can also be true in business, my friends. Sometimes we have a business relationship with someone and they are just not our cup of tea. Doesn't mean that we have to reject them. We certainly don't want to fight them and go to a place of anger, but we may need to just gently release them. Just kind of forgive them, forgive ourselves, and go on to the next thing. And what do I recommend? Align and Jasmine. Why? Because Align basically allows us to center ourselves and get to the bottom of what it is that's really going on. Are we flying off the handle because someone happened to say someone? We're just taking offense at what it is that they said. You know, we want to be watching out that we're not taking offense all the time, because it's sort of like the boy who cried wolf, right? We want to make sure that if we really come across something that is offensive or unkind, then we're able to manifest the words and the phrases that are going to help that situation. But if we're just continuously saying, oh, this one hurt me and that one said something bad to me and so on, then we become less effective and people begin to know us as a complainer or a whiner. We don't want to go there, right? So we want to center ourselves. And then Jasmine has that beautiful heady scent. You want to put that on your root chakra so that you're really balancing and centering yourself. I love Jasmine. And actually, we're going to be giving away a Jasmine roll-on at the end, two Jasmine roll-ons at the end of this call. Oops, blank slide, sorry there. Okay, invest in your relationships proportional to their priority level. Not all relationships are equal. Closer relationships require more time, care, and investment. And you want to evaluate if the caretaking that you're putting into your relationships is proportional to the priority level they have in your life. Don't neglect your most dear relationships simply because you are used to them being there. And that can that be a real factor in relationships? It can. You want to make sure that you're showing people love on a regular basis. You're reaching out to them. It's just like team members. Sometimes you have someone who in your team who's a superstar, and maybe you think, oh, well, they're a superstar, I don't have to call them. But everyone likes to feel needed and wanted and loved and heard and seen. And so you want to make sure that you're reaching out to all the different parties. And sometimes you may have to reach down to someone who's troubled, who maybe has been a little bit too much of a person who's had a lot of troubles, and just reach down, send a note, or maybe send a text message and say, hey, I'm thinking about you, just wondering how you are. What do I love for this investing in your relationships? I like console and serenity, because sometimes these interactions can be tricky. When we're reaching out to someone who we haven't been as conscious about in the past, we may need to console them or ourselves. Sometimes we don't know why the relationship has deteriorated, but you want to make sure that you're really in there for the long haul, and that your team, if you're working with your team, understands you're in this for the long haul. I love serenity because it's super calming. Whenever I need to focus my thoughts or get into a place of quiet solitude, serenity is my essential oil of choice. I use it for sleeping, of course, but I also use it to create a mood of sereneness and calm whenever things are getting a little bit overheated. Okay, weather the storms. And we all know that in every relationship, there are going to be storms. But just like a storm comes and passes, you also have to allow the storms to pass. Maybe somebody offended you in some way. Maybe something happened between you and a colleague or a friend, and you're really feeling angry or hurt or offended. I'm going to challenge you to really center yourself and then maybe let go. You may not be able to go to that other person and forgive them or react calmly with them, but I'm challenging you to let go yourself, because if you keep that storm within us, it's really not going to do us any good. So when people's relationships have been through adversity, it's easy to hold on to the pain and trauma. It's easy to blame, especially when things feel out of control. Take accountability if you had any part in making things worse, and try to repair any relational damage. Just like trees being strengthened by strong winds, learning to repair relational pain and release any residual resentment brings strength and depth to relationships. And I'm far from perfect about this, folks, but I want to, I think on a personal note, I've had some people in my life that have been very challenging. I have my mother's brother actually is, he's a challenging individual, and we are about only 16 years apart. So when I was born, he was 16 years old. And I don't know if there was resentment there, or I'm not really sure, but he and I have been at loggerheads on and off for years. And we've had periods where we've made up and I've said, I'm sorry, only to get back to a place that's just not productive. And now he is living overseas. I live in New Jersey, as you know, and he lives in Spain. So I hardly ever get to see him, but somehow our interaction has become a little bit more friendly, a little bit more cordial. There was a time where I didn't even want to see an email from him. Even a text message would make the hair on the back of my neck stand up. But over time, I realized that, he has his own troubles, none of which I bear. And for me to be at loggerheads with him all the time isn't productive for either one of us. And that was a real point of introspection that I had to get myself to. Doesn't mean that I want to live with him or that we're going to share an apartment and I don't know, sing songs around a campfire, but it does mean that I've come to a realization that while there was a storm between us, that I have to let that storm go and say, okay, you know what, that storm has passed, and to live in harmony as much as I can with him and the other members of my family. Biggest oil, favorite oil, and really only recommendation is forgive. Now, for those of you who were at the convention 2 years ago in Salt Lake City, you know that there was a scientist who actually stood up and said of all of the emotional aromatherapy oils, that forgive was the most powerful. And when they studied this particular oil, they found the biochemistry, the blood pressure, all of the biomarkers that would affect a person were actually affected in a positive way when forgive was applied. I like to apply forgive over my heart, on my shoulders and kind of give myself a good hug, crossing my arms across my chest. I'll put it on the back of my neck, maybe on my wrists. I use it always at the end of the day. It's that way, and it's called the renewing blend. So I want to believe that when you go to sleep at night, you wake up renewed and refreshed, and forgive is the way to do it. I find also sometimes when I give people forgive, they're surprised. They almost think, what are you forgiving me for? What am I forgiving you for? But I'm going to ask you to be open to using your forgive and just applying it in the evening and see how it begins to affect you. Okay, last but not least, appreciate and enjoy the beauty in your relationships. We are so incredibly blessed, my friends. We're blessed to know each other. We're blessed to be on this call. I feel blessed just to be alive. This has been a long and arduous journey sometimes, from the first time I was exposed to essential oils to where I stand today. I try not to compare myself to other people, and I try to stand in my own truth. And I see the changes that this business has wrought on my heart, on my personality. I want to believe that I'm a better person because I know all of you, and that the beauty and the joy and the relationships that we share are so important to me. I just want you to know that I value each and every one of you. Did you know that healthy relationships have 5 positive interactions to every 1 negative? So if you're in a healthy relationship, 5 times you're going to actually be positively affected by that person to the 1 time that they affect you negatively. So look at your relationships and begin to look at, even relationships with people that you don't see on a regular basis. So for example, I happen to love my dry cleaner. The lady there is so sweet and kind, and every time I go in, she always has this big smile for me. She is very kind. She asks me about my family. She's just a wonderful lady. She uses essential oils, which is interesting. But what's most important to me is when she's rushed, or the few times that she's rushed and maybe she doesn't see me, or maybe one of the other clerks takes me and handles my transaction. I don't consider her not a friend anymore because we weren't able to interact, or maybe she just kind of smiles and waves real quickly. I want to believe that each and every one of those other reactions or interactions that were positive far outweigh whatever brusque treatment she has to give me because there's a long line. And that's kind of a minor example because that lady is my dry cleaner and I really don't interact with her much outside of her shop. Sometimes there are many positive things happening in your relationships that go unappreciated. So maybe I'm going to challenge you today to talk to the people, maybe on your team, maybe you're in your life, and give them a couple of words of appreciation. Tell them how happy you are to see them, maybe how grateful you are that they are your friend or your colleague or your team member, or maybe even a cross-line leader. Do you have a really cool cross-line leader who just rocks your world? They're not part of your team, but every time you see them, you feel like, wow, a kindred spirit. And they just give you that, I don't know, that little zoom that you feel when you have a friend. Make sure to go out of your way and say, hey, I'm so glad we're friends. Notice the beautiful and thoughtful things that those closest to you do to love and serve you, and find ways to admire their beautiful qualities and thank them out loud. So on the note of notice the beautiful and thoughtful things, I have to tell you actually a funny story. So my husband, we have a big box store here. You know what the big box retailers are, Costco and Walmart. And for years and years, I was always the one who was in charge of going to Costco. And my husband said I always bought too much. I would come home and each and every time he said, you buy too much, and now our house is too full, and I don't like having all this junk and this and that. Now this went on for a long time. My husband and I have been married a long, long time, and we've been Costco members a long, long time. So about a year ago, he finally said, you know what? I'm taking over the Costco runs. And at first I felt a little bit slighted. I was sort of annoyed. Well, Costco's my domain. I want to do the Costco runs. But he's taken over that aspect of our daily life, or our monthly life. He probably goes there about once a month. And I have to say, it is really quite a relief that I don't have to go there anymore. He comes back with far fewer things that I ever would. In fact, sometimes he forgets main things like milk or eggs. But what's the cute thing is that sometimes when he's feeling particularly sweet or friendly, he'll actually come home with some flowers for me. And I have to say, each and every time, my heart just melts. And he'll put the flowers on the dining room table and wait for me to find them, which which is really very sweet. So, you know, just those thoughtful things, the smallest things, even if they're flowers from the supermarket or someone who does something for you that's really sweet and kind, really acknowledge that person. They went out of their way, they thought of you, and they're really trying to make the relationship healthy and strong. Okay, what are my 2 recommendations? Peace, of course, because you want to really feel peaceful around the people that love you, and cheer. So when you're going into a meeting, peace perhaps, if you think there's going to be a little bit of tension in the meeting, you want to make everyone feeling like they're in the right place at the right time, and then cheer. We want to uplift and create the mood that everybody feels positive. Even if you don't tend to be positive, folks, and I think now that you know me, you've been on this call with me long enough, you know that positivity is my number one, is actually my number one. If you look at my Gallup strengths, and some people may say, she's just a Pollyanna, that girl, she never thinks anything is bad. I'm not even gonna talk to her about these things because she should just get more excited. It's just not my character. I'm the type of person who, no matter what anybody says, I can usually find the positive in it. Am I perfect? Far from it. Do I get my back up sometimes? Yes, I do. But in general, I tend to find the silver lining in every cloud. Okay, so your 90-day plan for attracting and strengthening relationships. Now, if you were thinking about love relationships during this presentation, good for you. I really want you to go out there and try to meet new people and bring more love into your life. If you're thinking about business relationships, terrific. You're also going to get out there. You're going to meet more people. You're going to connect with more people. Build your business, enroll more people. Why? Because you're going to feel better and they are too. And last but not least, if you were thinking about the existing relationships in your life, the people that love and care for you, whether you got a positive boost and you said, hey, I really want to reach out to this person, or you reflected perhaps on something that's happening negatively in your life. I hope that this presentation was valuable for you. And what would I recommend? An emotional aromatherapy touch kit, #1 on the hit parade. It is a life changer. I actually have 2 kits open at any time. One that I keep in my bathroom near my bedroom, and the other one that kind of floats around the house. So it's kind of broken up. Anybody who needs it can just grab one. There's a couple down here in my office and one in my kids' bathroom. That's kind of the one that floats. But I have a full kit in my own bathroom that I can use whenever I need it. Also, Serenity/Lavender Peace. I love the Serenity. I think it's a grounding and balancing oil, even though it's known for being a sleep oil. I wouldn't necessarily put it on before going on a long car drive, but I would put it on, of course, before going on a long plane ride. You want to keep that nearby to attract and strengthen yourself so that you can attract and strengthen others. And then finally, the yoga kit. Yoga kit is not just for yoga, my friends. It is a wonderful kit and can be used in many applications. Some of you do practice yoga. Some of you, like me, are just a total klutz when it comes to yoga. Others of you are just not interested in yoga at all. It's all fine. But the yoga kit is something that you can be using. And the fact that in the US it's been broken up, I think is a really positive step. So I just want to remind you, you are amazing. And I'm so glad that you're here. And I want to thank you for being here and have a wonderful week. Okay, everybody, I am going to stop the recording now and take questions.